Hey, welcome to Wednesday Wisdom, that day of the week where I share tools, tips, tactics, and strategies for us all to stay current and relevant on social media to generate leads, clients, customers, and sales. And today I want to talk about the faith walk you have with your business. I already had this video planned out, but it seems so fitting in light of recent circumstances in the United States that I talk about faith because it says now faith is the expectation of things hoped for but not yet seen. So we got to have faith. But let's take it to our business. Talk about your faith walk with your business. So I'm going to get into that in a little more detail. But first, for those who don't know me, I am Cecelia Faye Morris, also known as the Digital Marketing Maven, and I teach business owners how to build their brand and their business online using digital marketing strategies. And wherever you're watching me, give me some likes, some love, drop a comment, and if it's YouTube, subscribe and click that bell so you can notify whenever I post a new video. All right, so let's talk about your faith walk with your business. So when I first got started in this online space, it was a knee-jerk reaction, right? I was being harassed at my job because of the time off I was taking to take care of my parents, and I just was over it, right? So I was quietly quitting before quietly quitting became a thing. And I had no idea what I was going to do next. I just know I wasn't going back to that job, right? So, anywho, that's when I started to hone my digital marketing skills. I won't go into the detail of my journey, but I will just say that, excuse me, when I started off, I didn't know a whole lot, right? I just knew how to create some 27, 47, $97 products. And as long as I was getting a handful of sales, plus I still had money in the bank, and I was okay with that. But then the tables turned. I was like, oh my gosh, I really need this money, right? My savings was being depleted. I was struggling in network marketing. People were buying the $27 product, but they weren't upgrading to the $5,000 product. So that's when I had to pivot. And instead of being an affiliate marketer, I became my own marketer. I started marketing my own stuff instead of selling other people's stuff. Affiliate marketing is great. But the thing of it is that depending on who you're with, you may get 50%, you may get 30%. But then you have the issue of upsells, and that's where I was. People weren't upselling. They were happy to give me $27 all year long, but they weren't upselling to the $5,000 package to learn how to do this stuff like I did. There were a handful of people, but nothing sustainable until I started creating my own products. But I still was new to this game, and so I was only charging like $3.97. You might have heard that story before. And it was a struggle every month to be out there hustling and grinding for new customers. But I knew I was on to something. And I had faith that I could turn this thing around and I could do it in a way that was going to allow me not only the time freedom to care for my parents, but the financial freedom so I could keep the lights on around here. And so I stuck with it. And eventually I decided to level up myself. And that's when I hired a coach because I could only take myself so far. And every next level of success will require a next level investment. So, what are you doing to next level yourself? But I wouldn't have dropped, let me go back. I would not have dropped that $5,000 on the coach if I didn't have faith that they were going to take me to the next level. And that's where your faith walk steps in. What are you doing to walk by faith, not by sight? So let me give you some biblical examples of people who walk by faith. And I'm sure these are going to ring true with you. And think about this as you are building your faith walk in your business. Let's talk about the first faith walk that I can remember in the Bible, and that's Abraham. God came to Abraham and said, I'm going to make you a great nation, but you got to get out of where you at. And it wasn't like Abraham was like, well, where I got to go? He was like, okay. And he just went. No idea where he was going. And he's like, well, how am I going to be a father of great nations? And I ain't even got one kid and I'm 75 years old. Yeah, he did what God said. And now he is the father of a great nation of Christianity. But the thing of it is, he had to have that faith to leave his family and everything he knew and go to a place that he didn't know where he was going. He was only going to find out when he got there, and then to be promised a kid. And then it was like 25 years later before he got that kid that he promised. Him and his wife got so impatient that she gave him one of her handmaidens to have his first son, who was Ishmael. And then God said, okay, I'm going to give you Isaac. But the thing of it is that he had to have that faith. And even when his faith wavered, and he had Ishmael, God still was faithful to his word to Abraham and gave him a son and made him the father of a great nation. The next faith walk that comes up in the Bible is Jacob. So if you don't know the story of Jacob, well, there's three stories that I know. The first story is he wanted to marry Rebecca. So he worked for 7 long years to earn the hand of the lady that he fell in love with, Rebecca. Well, when his 7 years was up, he went to collect, i.e., get Rebecca, so they get married. And the person he was working for, I believe it was his uncle, if I remember correctly, was like, you know what? Rebecca's the younger daughter. Leah's the older daughter. You can have Leah. You can't have Rebecca. He worked another 7 years to get Rebecca, right? So you want to talk about faith, right? Anything could have happened in that 7 years. He worked another 7 years to get Rebecca. 14 years he basically worked as a slave to get the woman that he loved. And I have trouble getting people to respond to my text messages. Crazy, right? But that's what faith will do for you. He knew that Rebecca was the one for him, and he was willing to work 14 years to get her. And then the third story I know about Jacob is that when he got Rebecca, that's when he had Joseph. And Joseph was his favorite son because it came from the woman that he wanted to marry in the first place, which brings me to my next faith walk. Let's talk about Joseph. Joseph, I got my little notes here. That's what I'm looking. Joseph was sold into slavery by his own brothers who were jealous of him, all because he said, you guys are going to serve me one day. They got jealous. They were going to kill him, but instead they threw him in a pit. They tore up his robe that his dad had got him and put some animal blood on it. And his dad was very upset. He was in that hole and then got sold into slavery. Then when he was sold into slavery, this lady who was a harlot lied on him and said that he made advances at her and he got thrown into prison. So I don't know the age ranges, but from biblical scholars, he was somewhere in the 17-ish kind of age range, I think, when that happened. And he was 30 years old before he got out of prison. And while he was in prison, if you don't know the story, he interpreted 2 dreams for 2 people that were in prison with him and asked them both to tell Pharaoh what he had done for them. Well, the one dream he interpreted, the guy ended up getting killed, as he said. And then the other dream, the guy didn't get killed and he was back in Pharaoh's favor. But he had forgot all about Joseph until one day Pharaoh had a dream. He's like, oh, yeah. There was this guy that I knew in prison who knows how to interpret dreams. And that's how Joseph became the right hand of Pharaoh. And Pharaoh actually considered him as a father. But he spent 13 years in either bondage or jail as a result of his brothers sell him into slavery. And when they did come back to him, they thought that he was going to be like really mean to them because, why wouldn't you think that, right? But he wasn't. And he was just like, God sent me here. You thought what you were doing was bad, but God sent me here for the good. And he probably saved the world with what he did with the 7 years of feast and 7 years of famine. So that's Joseph's faith walk, right? To be that faithful and then to see the end result. And then there is David. I just got 2 more for you, right? Then there is David. So David, when he killed Goliath, scholars say he was about 10 to 15 years old. But if you're not familiar with the pre-Goliath story, pre-Goliath, I can't remember the name of the prophet that came to David's house and asked his father, he said, the next king is going to come from this house. And so he asked the man to bring me all your sons. So he brought all his sons in front of him that were in the house, everybody but David. And the prophet was like, nope, not him, not him, not him, not him, not him. And the father was like, well, what? These are all my sons. Because David was out somewhere, killing sheep. Not killing sheep, tending sheep, killing bears, and killing lions long before Goliath, right? So his father was like, well, David? Like, you talking about David? And so David comes in, and guess what? David was the anointed one that was going to be the ruler over Israel. And he was somewhere between 10 and 15 years old, according to the scholars. But after he killed Goliath, Saul got jealous. He had to run for his life. So much happened. It was 33 years before he got the promise to be the king of Israel. 33 years, right? And he did a lot of stuff. He worked for other people. He was a warrior with other countries, but he knew what the prophet from the Lord had told him, and he held on to that promise. 33 years. And then the last faith walk that I want to talk about is Noah. I didn't know this, and I just recently found this out. I went to the Ark exhibit down in Cincinnati, and they had this ARC exhibit there, which is so awesome. If you haven't been there, you should go check it out. It's actually not in Cincinnati, it's in Kentucky, but it's right outside of Cincinnati. Anywho, the thing of it is, when God commanded Noah to build an ark because it was going to rain, the world hadn't seen rain up until that point. Noah built that ark for 100 years. 100 years, you're building something for something you have never seen ever before in your life. Who has that kind of faith? So let me go back to my faith walk. So I paid this $5,000. I got this program. I up-leveled my $397 program to other small packages, but I also have coaching programs now up to $2,500. And there's masterminds as well. But so that's my story of my faith walk, of knowing that I have a place in this entrepreneurial space. And there were times during this journey where I was a little scared about keeping these lights on. There were times in this journey where I had to ask people if I could borrow a little money, nothing over $500. And then I would hear their voice about, yeah, what are you doing about a job? Or maybe you need to go back to work. It's like, just let me pay you back, right? Just help me through this hump. But if I would have fallen for that rhetoric, because when you have a conversation with God, it's not a conference call. So if I listened to them, then I wouldn't have helped over 300 people do amazing things with their business using targeted marketing and Facebook ads. And now that ChatGPT is on the scene, I'm able to help people do more faster. But what if I'd have given up and I just went and got another job? We might not be having this conversation. All right, guys. So what kind of faith do you have? Drop it in the comments. You have that Abraham faith where you're going to go somewhere, figure it out when you get there? Do you have that Jacob faith where you're going to work for something for 14 years to get the result that you want? There's another person that worked for 14 years, Myron Golden. If you haven't heard of Myron Golden, he talks about he spent 14 years before he became this multimillionaire. People think he's an overnight success. Yeah, if you think 14 years is overnight. But anywho, so you have that Jacob faith, 14 years, or maybe you got that Joseph faith to spend roughly 13, 15 years in prison for something you didn't do on a promise that you knew that the Lord gave you in a dream. So you have that Joseph faith. Or do you have that Noah faith where you are going to work on something as hard as you can until it actually yields a result? Of course, 100 years isn't realistic because we don't live that long, but it's all about the persistence and consistency that makes it happen. So I hope you have a better understanding of your faith walk in your business. And if you want some help getting your message out to the masses, then I invite you to join me in my Magic Marketing Masterclass. I'm going to put the link somewhere around this video. Inside of my Magic Marketing Masterclass, I'm going to teach you 3 things you need to stop doing right now that are killing your business and causing you to lose money. So that is today's Wednesday Wisdom. I hope you found this valuable. And like I said, who's your faith walk like? Abraham, Jacob, Joseph, Noah? Let me know in the comments. I love to read about it. And I will see you next Wednesday for Wednesday Wisdom. And make sure wherever you're following me, give me some likes, some love, drop a comment. If it's YouTube, subscribe and click that bell so you get notified whenever I post a new video. And I'm always here every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye for now.